You might not think you're in a state of grief, but let me ask you a tough question. What have you lost since this pandemic began? Nothing? Is that really true? Do you have a sense of general nagging stress or trouble that seems to pervade your workplace? Do you come home exhausted or discouraged? Are you shell-shocked at the waves of patients there are to care for and not enough people to care for them, and they keep getting sicker no matter what you do? If you answer yes to any of these questions, you are experiencing grief. What's more, the people declining and dying all around you are absolutely in grief. Even if everything seems fine, you need to understand what they have lost so you can be a better caregiver and guide them more effectively. In this episode of Dharma for Doctors, Spiritual Care for Caregivers, we will address what COVID has taken from all of us and how it might be affecting you in ways you don't even realize, and how you can turn that grief into something positive and be a more resilient and more caring, understanding caregiver, not only to others but to yourself. I'm your host, Chaplain Greg Holden. A study entitled Physician Grief with Patient Death, which I'm linking to below, found that grief-related job stress may culminate in job-related burnout, a deleterious outcome that may affect up to 50% of physicians treating the terminally ill. So it's common to feel grief when your patients or clients die, but I think that grief is exacerbated by the current pandemic. The idea for this talk came from an essay entitled COVID Grief and the Grief of Our Times, written by Stephen Harrod Buhner. In it, he talks about a particular kind of loss, the loss of the assumptions upon which we constructed our lives and ourselves. An important truth is that over time, we create what Parks calls an internal assumptive world, or what the environmental writer and activist Val Plumwood described as our framework of subjectivity, a structure that sustains the concept of a continuing narrative self and which helps to sustain action and purpose in life. This internal assumptive world is something we build over time, a model of the world that we create and carry inside ourselves. As Parks comments, we rely on the accuracy of these assumptions to maintain our orientation in the world and to control our lives. Speaking personally, I've lost a lot in these past couple of years. I've lost some friends. I've lost my freedom to go everywhere and do a lot of things. My ability to look at people's faces. I've lost my connection to much of my family gatherings, my job, my ability to care for sick people, all gone. But the toughest loss is the things I thought were certainties, assumptions about who I am and how the world works. It's all been turned upside down. When I was very young, my life mostly revolved around school. When I was older, much of my life revolved around one job or another and finding a partner or living with a partner. Without really having to think about it, your life falls into a structure that seems to be laid out for you. You get up, you go to work, you do what you are told to do. You take a little time for yourself, as much as you can. You go home tired, you eat, you flop down on a chair and watch TV. You get involved in your favorite TV series. You start to look forward to this or that TV show, or maybe your local sports team. That's your life until something happens to shake it all up. So many of us have had these artificially constructed routines blown up over the last 2 years. As a young doctor, you didn't sign up for this. Some of the residents I've known were not allowed to see patients at all during early 2020. They talked to people on the phone. When they did get to see patients, they had to deal with so many who were seriously ill and dying. I remember there was one man who was in the ICU with COVID. He was in his 40s. His children made drawings for him that were taped to the walls of his room. The family couldn't see him, of course. The children felt a little better knowing their messages of Daddy get well and we love you, Daddy, were with him. But he died, and it was up to a young doctor to tell his wife. I offered to be there with her when she made that phone call. No, she said, it's all right, but it was still a tough phone call. What do you do with an experience like that? How do you cope with the family's grief, not to mention your own? Here are 5 suggestions. 1. Talk to the patients you have lost. I often told this to families after a loved one died. After their death, I believe they are still close by. Talk to them. Say goodbye. Tell them how you feel. Just do this silently to yourself. 2. Realize that everyone has to live out their own karma. The forces that caused this death are out of your control. Acknowledge this. You did your best for that person. You did all you could, and that is a lot. 3. Look around you. Notice the sky, the trees, the birds. Pet your dog or cat, or pet someone else's dog, if you don't have one. Be present as much as you can. Whenever your mind goes back to what happened, as it will, bring it back to the present. 4. Practice gratitude. Life is so fragile. You are grateful to be alive and in your position, with all your knowledge, with your future ahead of you. Feel that in your heart. Take one thing you are really grateful for and feel that as a warmth at your heart. Finally, be kind to yourself. Don't pick up that candy bar or that can of beer. Get out and take a walk. Take a nap. Do whatever you need to do to restore yourself and love yourself. All these things can help you build resilience. Ultimately, it's up to you to come up with your own coping strategies. What do you do to care for yourself? Has grief been a problem for you? Share with us in the comments below. Remember, be compassionate with yourself. I'm Chaplain Greg Holden. This has been Dharma for Doctors, Spiritual Care for Caregivers. Thank you so much for listening. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Until next time, I wish you peace.